Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you all here. As I look out over the gathering here, I just see so many faces of people who do so much for our students. And it's wonderful to have you here. As we approach the end of one academic year, it's time to lay another piece of the foundation for another academic year, and that involves the budget of the university. When I arrived, I was told that UVU does more with less, and they hate hearing that. But I want to thank you for all you do with the resources that we do have. We really benefit from tremendous state support at a time when many states are not enjoying that support. When their budgets are being threatened, we continue to receive strong support from the legislature. This year it's not as strong as we would like it to be, but it's in many ways stronger than one would have expected going into the session. And part of that is because of the great work that you're doing, because you're doing such a good job. And part of it is because of the great job that President Holland does in helping them understand what we're all about and giving them confidence that they can invest in us. And so it's with a great honor that I introduce the president of Utah Valley University, President Matt Holland.
Well, how's lunch? Okay, all right. Well, it's hard to believe that another year has gone by and that we're here to discuss the budget. This has been such a spectacular year. And as you know, much of it celebrating the 75th anniversary, but even going beyond that, it's just, as I was preparing my thoughts and slides for this presentation, it was just frankly awe-inspiring me to see what we have accomplished in another academic year. So let me launch into this. And I found something recently that sort of highlights a lot of our lives right now with respect to a particular cabinet officer. Some of you have seen this. Okay, I'll let you laugh for a minute because you got to listen really carefully to get it, okay?
Listen to me. Like I do this all the time. And if I go out at the house or to the door, Matthew has his toys, and then Matthew has all his toys.
Okay, but I have to yell at you guys.
Okay, Linda, listen, Linda. Listen.
Okay, what?
Like everything they do.
Yes, it's the Linda, honey, just listen to me, Macon time of year. So in the age of the internet, when I told Linda who can't be with us today, I told her I was going to share that. She said, well, why don't you share this from me then? Touche to the budget office. It's actually not quite that bad, and we'll talk about that later. But before we do that, we have too much to celebrate, and so we need to take a minute and just think about what has happened this year. And one of the things I want to do, and I think we'll start this as a new tradition, we have these terrific awards that we give every year. The Trustees Award, the highest award that is granted by the university, and the Presidential Award of Excellence. And these are some of our most outstanding contributions. And we can't make these decisions till the end of the year, and then we have this kind of private ceremony, and people don't know about it. And I think we need to know what our colleagues are doing and how they're being honored. So you'll have noticed at the front of the university we have this new beautiful display case where the winners have been featured this last year. And I want to start announcing these here in this setting so you're aware. So starting with the Trustees Award. And please, let's hold your applause for each of them individually. We can take care of that collectively. Michelle Kearns, in Student Affairs, 25 years of developing various on-campus programs, doing some really tremendous work right now, especially on our chief area of focus, completion and retention. Christopher Clark, a lifetime dedicated to the arts, and you all know how famous we've become in the theater world, winning effectively national championships, if you will, this little school from Orem, Utah. That's not all because of Chris, but a lot of it ties back to him and what he's done for us. Dan Fairbanks, the true Renaissance man, dean, geneticist, sculptor extraordinaire, winner of the Mendel Prize this year, and just a remarkable set of accomplishments in what he's doing there. Of course, he couldn't do his job without Carrie Hallett right by his side. 25 years of service, an extraordinary level of professionalism and capability in her managing so many of the practical financial aspects of that college and doing it year after year. Christine Doty Yells, doing so much in behavioral science and moving forward our social work programs at the bachelor's level and now, so excitingly, the master's level. And then finally, Newell Daly, another dean, another man of multiple talents, trumpet player, theoretician, very capable administrator, so essential to the fundraising effort that has allowed us to build this new Center for the Performing Arts. He retires this year. We will miss him dearly. So those are the Trustee Award winners. The President's Award winners: Marcus Jorgensen, Associate Professor of Developmental Mathematics for many years, worked as the Director of Institutional Effectiveness and has been so effective himself, going consistently over and above whatever he was asked to do in terms of his analysis and insights and recommendations. It's not a position that gets a lot of visibility on campus, but it makes an enormous difference. He was so consistently excellent on that. Julie Anderson in the foundation. Julie came from industry. She had a very significant position in the private sector, wanted to live and work for something other than what industry is committed to, loves the UVU mission, and has really helped us transform the culture and the nature and the operation of the Foundation Board, which has been part of our great fundraising success as of late. And Rob Carney, truly prolific in his creative works, 4 major books of poetry published, performing his works of poetry at the regional and national level. His latest book, Story Problems, getting lots of critical acclaim. So David Conley. David came to us with lots of insights about his observations about shared governance and the faculty senate, really led a tremendous effort to move forward an important change to our Constitution and how that body operates. He serves endlessly on multiple university committees, always looking to make a difference and move forward our mission. Brian Waite has really been one of our true leaders on the inclusive effort from the faculty side, helping to co-chair the committee, helping to create distinctions for global intercultural awareness and the development of that center in general, taking lots of initiative campus-wide, but also pioneering some of the work in our School of Ed. And finally, Olga Kopp, under the area of engagement. It's almost impossible to list the number of things that she does for her students inside the classroom, outside the classroom, all on top of the remarkable scholarly contribution she continues to make. So would you please join me in congratulating your colleagues for their outstanding service. I will just say, the last thing on this is that these are difficult decisions. The trustees take this very seriously. They get a thick binder of applications, and we have so many folks who contribute. We wish we had more capacity to honor more folks, but please continue to recommend and acknowledge those who are making a difference like that so that we can continue to honor such outstanding performances. Just a few things before we get into the year in review as we move forward. Commencement's coming up. President Henry B. Eyring, the speaker, will be giving him an honorary doctorate of humane letters, a prominent religious leader in our community, but also an esteemed educator, university president, Harvard degree, and Stanford tenured faculty member. Lots of perspectives on higher education there. 3, I think, outstanding honorary degrees that we'll be recognizing. Shirley Silversmith has just done the most amazing work with the Native American populations in our state, working with UVU, working with the governor, working with our Native American populations. It's really been a lifetime of service. I don't know where we'd be in the state without her leadership. Keith Nellison, one of the great entrepreneurial CEOs of our valley, helped found Apex, which eventually became Vivint. He's gone off on his own and started yet another business, Nuvi, which was recognized as the business of the year. So this very successful serial entrepreneur, but also a leader for autism. Major donor to our school of our autism center, but not just that, he's really move forward other institutions that are dealing with this issue in a very practical way. He's worked in many ways side by side with Brent Wood, who's also had a very impressive career in the public sector and the private sector, who's similarly been devoted to dealing with the issues of autism. Another major source of leadership, insight, pedagogy, and material support for the Autism Center. He started his own school for autistic students that will filter on into the programs here at UVU. A remarkable duo of combination there. So we'll look forward to that. Following graduation, Summer University, May 22nd through the 24th. I hope you'll all take advantage of that. A lot of planning and effort goes into doing that. So, with the year in review, let me just move through this as quickly as I can, but that's a challenge given all of the things that we have done this year. Again, it started with a kickoff for our 75th anniversary that happened around Founders Day. We had a scholarship ball where we raised a record new level of funding for our presidential scholarships, over $200,000. We approved a new master plan, very exciting for us, as we not only master plan the Vineyard campus, but here the Orem campus to show the ways that we can grow forward into the future over decades with thousands of new students, keeping the academic integrity of the campus together and the disciplines operating in sync, while providing these wonderful new dynamic spaces out at Vineyard for athletics, specialty programs, community engagement parks. It's just such an exciting vision moving forward, and we're already moving on the very first phase of the master plan, which I will talk about in just a moment. We unveiled the Roots of Knowledge, a spectacular day, November 18th, not soon to be forgotten. Dignitaries that were there or visited since include Orrin Hatch, President Uchtdorf, Governor Herbert, and I'm sure we'll see many, many more. We get lots of calls and requests. Most importantly, though, rather than talking about our dignitaries, is what we're doing with this substantively and academically and intellectually. Well, look at the kind of list of faculty-sponsored lectures that we've already had with the backdrop of those windows. You see the disciplinary differences here and folks tackling important issues for our students in a way that brings it alive. This is just one of the things we thought should happen with the Roots of Knowledge, that it would be a powerful engine for exploration and inquiry and discussion. In addition to these traditional lectures. It's also been an ideal gathering place for some key panels and summits, if you will, including a very prominent, nationally prominent panel on cybersecurity. It's been a gathering spot for partnerships with our advisors in the K-16 Alliance and the Utah Education Network. Again, we see this as something that will inspire younger students to come onto our campus, see the windows, be excited about what you can study at a university, stimulate their desire to go to college, and just have a reason to come onto a campus even before they're ready. We think there will be lots of recruiting impact on that for students who will be excited about what we're doing moving forward. Of course, an enormous amount of press locally and nationally on that. I think you've heard me before talk about some of these superlative statements from newspapers like The Guardian in the UK, calling it one of the most spectacular stained glass windows made in the past century. CNN using words like spectacular, inspired, excellent, inspirational. Since the unveiling, it was a major feature of Atlas Obscura. If you don't know this website, check it out. It's a personal favorite. This is the place that goes out and finds these hidden gems around the world or the country that nobody knows about that are spectacular. And we fit that profile for them. They recommended nobody in the area should miss seeing this absolutely spectacular, absolutely beautiful installation. So anyway, we continue to be pleased with that. In the same time we unveiled the windows, we renamed the library after Ira and Mary Lou Fulton. Mr. Fulton has had an enormous impact on this campus, moving us forward. He years ago provided a significant multi-million-dollar matching grant for the university as we were trying to get university status. He's given significant support to the Roots of Knowledge. He's helped us to establish UVU's very first academic fully endowed chair in the School of Education. And this is so exciting. We're already working with with Parker to hire an outstanding national figure on this front, and we're going to see more of these moving forward, but Ira's provided our first support for the library itself and also the Center for Constitutional Studies. So we also had the chance to say thank you to all of you with the book, the 75th anniversary book. I think we still have copies if you didn't get one. Cam Martin's shop and marketing can make those available to you. Their team did a really fine job on that. $75 gift card at the holiday season and a few extra days off. Again, as a way, we won't always be able to do all of that, but in this special year, hope that was enjoyed and appreciated. As we moved forward into the state of the university, we talked about how so many things seem to be coming together that now not only are people around the state taking notice, which they have been for some time, as we've become not only the largest, but people see the excellence that was frankly already here, but was expanding, that it's now getting national attention and international attention with major educational outlets both here in the U.S. and also in the U.K. And so I won't go into all those except to say I think Education Dive sums up this nicely to say that schools like Utah Valley University are the future of higher education, where one institution or system can address the full needs of a state's or city's workforce with multiple resources for education. Again, an exciting time, a time recognized by others that we're doing something unique and successful here that others may want to follow. So what is it that makes us so successful? And I think it really boils down to this formula for success. We have our core themes that we talk about endlessly. And so just a quick update on that front. Our continued commitment to inclusion with a major strategic plan, 36 action steps, full faculty and staff inclusion council making recommendations, moving this forward, even as we stay committed to being open admissions, keeping tuition low. I'll say more about that in a minute. Expanding two-year degrees and certificates, even as we also celebrate bachelor's and master's, and then this active outreach to underserved populations. some remarkable things paying off now as we do this. So as we've been at this now for a number of years, 108% increase in students of color, 110% increase in faculty of color since 2009. If you look at the profile of our students, you see how many of them are working, they're older, they're married with children, and are going part-time, which means we're still the provider for them. We still make it easy for them to be here, at least easier in their various non-traditional circumstances. And one of my favorite statistics, 38% are first generation. I think about this all of the time. I recognize my life is different than theirs. I had every advantage of the world to go to college and to have support and encouragement and mentoring. And I think about nearly 40% of our students not having anything like that. But they're succeeding because of you, because of staff and faculty, mentors who are holding them here, moving them along, giving them a great experience. On the series front, 2 terrific presidential lectures. Dave Ulrich, one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 management consultants in the nation right now, according to a number of those kind of lists that track these things, gave a spectacular talk about the importance of institutions and organizations at a time when we seem to be kind of splintering and atomizing and turning into our devices. He made a pitch for effectively what we do at a university, and I thought it was very, very powerful. Hannah Rosen, a senior editor from the Atlantic Monthly, a star journalist, rising, visible public intellect, coming and talking about the end of men, so I invited her to speak of my own demise. But a fascinating talk about what's happening on the gender front, in the economy, in our culture, and its various implications and thoughts. We're engaged and making great progress, if you will, increased numbers of internships, now a new launch on undergraduate research and creative works. At least we're doing more of that than we've done in the past, with 100 projects underway this year. Tremendous progress on the global intercultural front, and then in a way that's affecting so many students, over 8,000 students, our community engagement through service learning courses, over 300 courses, having an enormous impact on our communities. A lot of that's being driven by our more disciplined, strategic way that we're thinking about engaged learning through the pillars of engagement that have been rolled out this year that I think you're familiar with and we've largely alluded to. And as a result, the community is coming to us. We've had a very successful Silicon Slope speaker series this year. These are the star CEOs of now billion-dollar companies that are delighted to come to our campus and speak to our students. So folks like Aaron Sconard from Pluralsight and Ryan Caldwell from MX, our good friend Corinne Clark, and next week Josh James will be here. These are some of the busiest people in the state. It's almost impossible to book them, and they're almost begging to come and be part of what we're doing here at UVU. A little bit out of sequence here, I spoke about the seriousness of our presidential engagement, our presidential lecture series, but also on the series front, the exciting new chapters. We begin these master's degrees in 5 very needed critical disciplines. We continue to make our most major budget investment in full-time faculty for the first time this year, crossing the threshold that was set back for us in the early 2000s about what we needed to do to be a bona fide university. And again, we've had some challenges with the economy and other things that we've been facing and equity funding, but with the economy picking back up and our equity battles and our focus on the budget front, we've now not only met that threshold, but we've exceeded it, which I think is a very significant thing for what we're trying to achieve as an institution. And you can see it paying off in the lives of the students. And it's not just the investment of faculty, it's everything that's being happened there, the retention and completion efforts and the care and consideration of staff and faculty here. But I love this slide. I show it all the time because I think it says something very significant. Everyone talks about how fast we're growing, and sometimes people want to sort of blow that off and say, well, that's just because Utah Valley's growing fast. No, that's not the reason. I mean, that's part of the reason for sure, but it's not the only reason. And this graph helps us see that. Our greatest growth rate are coming from junior and senior students. If it were just natural demographic growth, you'd expect that to be in the freshman, sophomore level. What this means is, yes, we're growing at the freshman, sophomore level, but we're retaining better. We're not having students drop out. We're not having them transfer to other institutions. They're moving through to complete their degrees. We have additional data on that. If you look at changes in the numbers of awards in the last 5 years, the single greatest delta comes with UVU, where we don't have the greatest in terms of gross terms, but in terms of the increase, if you will, no one's catching us in terms of our ability to turn these things that we're doing together as a campus into real student success moving forward. And we've seen a 76% increase in bachelor degree seeking graduation rates. So that's a remarkable accomplishment. Just a few highlights then of some specific examples of student success, programmatic success, the great #2 ranking by our leadership program and Leadership Excellence Magazine, a national publication, our first Emmy for digital media students, national honors for our Student Chef of the Year, the PRSSA being recognized as the outstanding chapter. I had a candidate for another dean position, not even in this field, say that one of the reasons they were here is he was talking to a colleague that was talking about what's going on at UVU. This was in California, and these things get around and make a statement about the larger university. Our graduates thriving in that same area. The Outstanding Young Professional of the Year for the whole nation, Mackenzie Haggart, was a graduate of that program. 5 Stanford Innovation Fellows this year. The year before, we had 1. As I understand it, we were the first to have 1 in the state, and now we've got 5 this year. Continue to just knock it out of the park for Skills USA at both the regional and the national level. And we just got word that our dance team won the national championship at their competition a few weeks ago. Regional success too, especially at the athletic level. Men's cross country, women's cross country, baseball, soccer. Men's soccer, outstanding year. At one point they were 8th in the nation. We've only been at this 3 years, and here they are, 8th, as high as 8th, and through the whole season, never once fell out of the top 25 if you consider all the polls that people look at for that. Our first player went pro, Skylar Milne, a remarkable accomplishment. And our wrestling team not only succeeded in the WAC, but had a couple of good runs at the national level. And then there's men's basketball, an exciting year for us, some great shots from that. Lost in a 4 overtime heartbreaker in Las Vegas for the WAC championship, but went on to the CBI where we competed very well. But of course, I think the most memorable moment is, well, let's just say my favorite numbers now are 114 and 101. Yeah. And this has never been aired before publicly, but just a game. I wasn't very excited or anything. So with all of this growth and with all of this success, we have to have a campus to match our mission. And I can't believe what you all have made happen this year in moving this forward. So up at Wasatch campus, We have a new Center for Advanced Professional Studies, a dynamic new program that brings high school students into our Wasatch campus in kind of entrepreneur-focused, engaged learning labs. It's transformed the basement of of our campus facility there. We've refurbished the PE building, gymnasium, now the Rebecca D. Lockhart Arena. We've opened up a branch campus at Thanksgiving Point, the old Entrada building, wonderful ribbon cutting there. A lot of excitement about that from our local leaders. We'll see the programming for that soon. I'm sure that's just going to grow and grow. We have roughly a site identified now for Payson, very close to closing the deal on that moving forward. We had a major, as you can tell, monumental groundbreaking for the Pope Science infill with plastic hats and shovels. It's a smaller building, you get it? But this is going to give immediate alleviation to the compressed issues we have in the administration building without forcing us to require a whole new administration building. We're very grateful for that. New warehouse space does a lot of things for us, including freeing up space on the east side of campus that can be turned into spaces that will be used for academic things. And so we're grateful for that. We're just on the cusp of a ribbon cutting for the Cole Nellison Autism Building, almost there. The Newvie basketball facility, almost finished. We designed the new Center for the Performing Arts, broke the ground for that, and now the dirt is flying on that moving forward. And then finally, here's a glimpse of the entrance to campus last spring. And I think, as you all know by now, this is what we have to look forward to today. So, congratulations, everyone. What a year you have all had. So. Okay, with that, let me shift into the gripping stuff of the budget. And it begins with the legislative session. We made a 3% request to the state for support for compensation. It was our top request. For a while we had, it looked like the legislature was dug in at 1%. We stayed at it. We came out with what was called a 2% labor market adjustment. They were very clear that that's not a COLA. It's not that everyone will get 2% across the board. They were very explicit about the language to signal that, but that we could use that in ways to supplement and move forward what we thought we needed to do. We've made a proposal to the trustee for 3%. That combines with the 8% given for health insurance rate increase. Again, I'll say more about this towards the end about what the implications are for all of that moving forward. But again, in the spirit of what Vice President Olson said, looked pretty grim at the beginning of the session. We did better than we thought, even if we didn't get everything we were hoping for. On tuition, the Board of Regents approved a first-year raise of 2.5%. Some other institutions raised their tuition a little bit. We were one of the few that did not. Our continuing commitment to access and inclusion and not letting costs climb and climb away from the students. So I'm grateful for that. I think we're still going to have a robust year even without that second tier, and it's better for our students that we do so. We said after compensation, our first priority was student growth money. We basically haven't funded growth as a state for years and years. That's how we got into the equity problem that we were in. I think by virtue of, again, that victory with equity continues to pay off because what people recognize is we don't want to go back there, so we need to fund growth as we go. So we got 3.5 million, not we, but the system got 3.5 out of 4 million, so almost the full request. So it was funded as a priority, and the thing most closely funded to the full request. That's a very positive sign, frankly, moving forward. The UVU's portion of that is 1.25. You're all smart people. You can figure out the ratios of that if the system got 3.5 and UVU got 1.25, we get a disproportionate share because we are growing more, which suggests we've got a better formula as well on growth than we have had in the past. Performance funding was funded in a way that for now looks like one-time monies, but is almost sure to turn into ongoing money. So our portion of that is almost $1 million. And then the big happy surprise of the session was the pedestrian bridge. In many ways, we thought we would just lay the groundwork for it, even though we need it immediately. And this was what I was alluding to earlier. It is the first part of our master plan. It's on the master plan, and it's the thing that we can start to do to say it alleviates congestion, it connects east and west campuses, it takes advantage of mass transit, it helps us be more ecologically friendly, it does a lot for efficiencies, and then we can start to think about the move out to Vineyard after that. But it really was the first thing. We made the argument. Fortunately, our Utah County legislatures caught the vision of that, helped us promote that, and in the end, we were successful for an initial round of funding. So, planning and design is underway. It's going to take a while to build this thing and get it designed and built, but here's just a little glimpse of where it will go. That's the front runner station. We want it to come off that and then spill onto the main campus a little closer beyond the track to where it begins to be a little more accessible to where students need to go. Some very early kind of rough sketches of what that might look like. Again, designed wide enough that you can have pedestrian traffic and bicycle traffic in there. We'll have to obviously put some sort of rule into place about not making faces at the passing drivers underneath. So. Anyway, it's very exciting. So, with the monies that we've got from the legislature and tuition and other things, I'll summarize that here towards the end. Here we are at PBA. This is the culmination of effectively a long year of planning. It starts last summer, where people start to think and analyze where they are, make requests, make their discussions. They come in for the public conversations. We do some initial prioritizing. There's back and forth. We wait for the legislative session to see exactly how much money we have, and then we make decisions. Again, for those that have come from other institutions, a remarkably transparent process in terms of the public messaging and reporting about what we're doing, what the inputs are, et cetera. We had 3 areas of focus this year for PBA: improve student retention, provide access and opportunity for a broad range of students in meeting regional educational needs, and operate effectively and efficiently. So on that first area of focus, some things that we're announcing in terms of approving student retention and completion. Again, making great progress there. Need to make more. There could be ebbs and flows in this. We shouldn't get overly confident about what we're facing. But $1.3 million to ongoing faculty. And by the way, these are not the only investments in faculty, but those that we see often related to the issues connected to retention and completion. So 9 tenure track faculty in the disciplines that you can see, everything from art foundations to language pedagogy to personal financial planning. 8 lecture positions in computer science, management, marketing, and then some that are just designated for critical needs. Some of this stuff needs to happen a little more flexibly, so we're giving some flexibility to academic affairs to plug those in as needs emerge more clearly in the coming year. Enhancing student and academic success support services, a couple of $100,000 ongoing, $38,000 one time. Career services, math labs, student health services, extending weekend hours for the library, writing center extension, those things that often make such a big difference for students' ability to cope and complete and get their work done. Continuing again in the same area of focus, reducing the student to advisor ratio, nearly $300,000 there in ongoing money, $150,000 in one time. So academic advisors in behavioral science, exercise science, technology, and computing. We think it's important to improve the onboarding of students and give support for those programs like orientation, the freshman reading program, a significant new piece of software that we think will make us much more effective in our ability to deliver on the services students need for that onboarding experience. And then I think this is the last on area of focus 1, a major push on mental health issues. Our student body officers, under the capable direction of their president, as well as other presidents around the state, made this their #1 issue as they look at their peers and see what the needs are. So investment in a mental health specialist, hourly staff for therapist workers, crisis workers, a postdoc intern that will significantly enhance, expand our ability to address students with those issues. Student-athlete graduation. This was actually not a request of ours at the legislature. It's a fair amount of money, $1.1 million. It was given to us because there had been a statewide initiative to distribute that to all of the institutions. Some other institutions had that in the past. So we didn't ask for it, but we'll certainly take it and we'll put it to good use to help those student athletes move forward in their academic progress. On the student success front, provide a meaningful and well-rounded experience, enhance student life. $160,000 almost of non-appropriated monies would go to assistant coordinator for clubs and the assistant coaches for men's and women's soccer. On the inclusive front, expand the array of programs offered. Remember, this is one of the core elements of our approach on inclusive, to not lose those programs that might reach out to students that don't fit necessarily a traditional university model. So respiratory therapy, a classic example of that, a very needed kind of trade and technical program, if you will, and 2 tenure track faculty coordinators, a medical director, hourly faculty and staff. There's a big demand for this in our service region. Our local health officials are delighted about this. I'm sure this is going to be a great success. Expanding delivery methods and locations to English lectures to expand distance learning. Thanksgiving Point, hourly focus. Enhance academic programs with needed support. A fair amount of one-time money for some expensive equipment in dental hygiene, computer engineering, and our friends in CAPS. In terms of inviting a safe and supportive environment for everybody, which we've made significant progress on, nearly $200,000 in ongoing, $150,000 in one time to help expand support for an LGBT program director and IT accessibility specialist, with some hourly operating funds for outreach for our Pacific Islander students, Latino women in education, and closed captioning. We'll provide opportunities for intercultural competence, $69,000 ongoing to support specifically a teacher preparation program. We want to help this happen sooner out in our fields and get our student teachers trained in that way, as well as others out in the community. On the engage front, helping our students engage with real-world context. So engaged learning programmatic support, nearly $130,000 in ongoing for global engagement staff, GEL matching funds, and a Title III grant match. Serve as a portal of civic engagement and engine of regional economic business development. $69,000 ongoing for some staff, about $300,000 one time, as we have a major window of opportunity to really establish the roots nationally and internationally and give them the processing support they need to build out the display space and other things connected with those windows. Championing learning through a teaching in an academically rigorous environment, a major investment in graduate education, over $1 million in ongoing, $100,000 or so in one time, with tenure track faculty in computer science, cybersecurity, social work, accounting, coordinators for social work and accounting, and a variety of things needed to support those programs for a successful launch from the get-go. We, as I've said from the sort of the start of this presentation on, we're only as good as our people. We've got to invest in all of you. That's why the big push for compensation. We can't do what we need to do professionally, seriously, without that. So the combination of the monies we got from the legislature that we are required to supplement with tuition gives us about $6.8 million on ongoing funds and $47,000 in one-time funds. I'll say more about those plans in just a minute. But we also have some smaller amounts of money to set aside to recognize people in the way that I did at the beginning of the hour here. There are other ways that we need to do that to, again, reward great behavior, build our culture, and then supporting high-achieving students. Again, it's not just a faculty and staff issue, it's a student issue. So a $6,000 to $8,000 ongoing investment for honors housing, hourly, and thesis project requests. We need to be recognized for efficient, effective programs, telling our story. Again, as that's getting out there, it raises our profile, our stature, makes the legislature more inclined to invest in us as they see the impact that we're having. It takes a little bit of resource to do that, and so getting some specialists, a new data manager, some licensing funds, and a major push on social media. There's an exciting new program that Cameron Martin is proposing. I think will have a big impact for us. And then our third area of focus, we've got to be strategic and efficient relentlessly. That's not just UVU. I mean, we do talk about that having a UVU, but if you look at all of the best run organizations in the world, privately and publicly, they are always doing this, always examining what their mission is, what can be let go, what do we need to do, where do we invest. And so we'll support organizational opportunities to the tune of $240,000 and some ongoing funds there. We're reorganizing the College of Science and Health and College of Aviation and Public Services to the College of Science and the College of Health and Public Services. We need a new assistant dean to make that work, and that, I think, is a better academic intellectual alignment and exciting new future for both of those colleges. Strategically invest in and allocate for divisional department resources to achieve our objectives. So we live in a world of compliance. That's increasing. Some welcome that, others don't. We don't have a lot of choice in many respects. So we are determined to be ethical and above reproach in living by the law in our community and state and nation. To do that, we need folks to help us as the world gets more complex. So an EOAA investigator, an assistant general counsel with some hourly staff support and some operating funds. We've run on an exceptionally lean basis. You could look at virtually any other institution. And this investment doesn't anywhere come close to making us fat. But they are essential for us moving forward. And then CTE director, a police corporal, as we said goodbye to John Brewer and others, and as our needs for security expand on campus, you see sort of these critical technology positions, service positions that are essential to continuing to run efficiently as we carry out our programs. And then some major facilities enhancements done mostly with one-time monies to the tune of about $7 million. You've seen the remarkable progress we've made this year. Obviously, those things cost money. We're doing more and more with that privately raised, but some of this, it's more than appropriate and needful to use appropriated funds. So the warehouse that we talked about, remodeling it, then going back and remodeling the EE building in ways that will turn into benefits for our academic programs. Our police have been squeezed into a very little operation there. We want to provide some remodeling options for them. You can see the list is extensive, and we've already highlighted kind of what they are in many cases and why they're so important. Technology. We live in a world of technology. Our students expect it, need it. We use it to teach. We use it to process. We have to invest in those things to keep pace moving forward, and you can see some of our top priorities there on technology. And in terms of Sometimes you have to spend a little bit of money to acquire money. Again, we're raising more money than ever. It's allowed us to do buildings, get programs, endowed chairs that redound to our operation. But to help our outstanding development operation do that, we need some ongoing money and one-time money for outreach for alumni, some operating funds, and a major push for the Woodbury School of Business fundraising effort, our next big capital facilities priority. Managing growth, an ongoing issue for us moving forward. Our MBA program has been successful. It's growing. There's a call for it, a demand for it out in Thanksgiving Point and other places. This is a program that brings revenue into the institution, and so a lot of this is supported by those tuition monies that come in, but we have approved additional tenure-track faculty in finance, marketing, strategic management. Summer faculty operating funds, et cetera. We just need increased sections to meet growth. So nearly $1 million one time and $1 million ongoing just to accommodate the ongoing growth that we'll have moving forward. Now, in terms of compensation, to go back to what happens to that $6 million, all full-time employees will receive a $250 annualized base increase. In addition to that, for faculty, starting with the faculty, they may be eligible for rank and tenure promotion, which we will fund. Many faculty will be on target for a market equity adjustment based on the proximity of their base salary to the market median, so there will be a number of adjustments there, and targeted key retention efforts. On the full-time staff side, again, 250 annualized base increase, a market equity adjustment based on, the proximity of their base salary to market median and the number of years in position. Also, the staff side has made great progress on a merit-based proposal that goes into effect, so it will be based on their evaluation score and their proximity to base salary market median, as well as some targeted retention. And then executives, 250 annual base increase, eligible for market equity key retention adjustments. On average, we made a proposal to the trustees for a 3%. That's not a COLA. It has to be ebb and flow according to these different factors, but that gives you a general sense of where we're going with that. For our part-time employees, 3.04% increase for adjunct faculty. That rounds that 3 contact hour course to $28,885. Our most significant investment over the years in terms of compensation has been in adjunct, always trying to do more there than we've done for others. Not a lot more this year, but still moving that figure forward. Staff gets a 3% increase. On the medical benefits side, we have a premium increase of 8%. That's about $12 per month for family coverage on the base plan. For 2018, continue employer contributions to health saving plan for employees in high deductible plans, so we'll continue to do that with $75 per month per employee and $150 a month per employee of 1 or more. And we're grateful that the help from the state didn't make that increase more significant for us this year. The wellness plan will continue with that, with the incentives. First tier is $300, second tier is $200. You can all get up to $500 extra through participating in that plan. So, again, just in terms of summary, where this money is coming from: new tax funds, tuition from enrollment growth, tuition rate increase, and tuition from new programs. That's about $16 million of ongoing money that we've just basically accounted for. Just to give you a sense, a reminder that a lot of this money comes from our students. A significant portion comes from the taxpayers. I wish those ratios were a little friendlier to students, frankly. We keep pushing for that. That's why we keep tuition low. But it's a reminder of every time we spend $1 on this campus, we do it effectively on the backs and the pocketbooks of our students. We need to relentlessly remind ourselves of that. So in summary, between the appropriated funds that we've spent, according to those categories I just shared with you, we've hired 28 faculty and 37 staff. That again gives us one of the lowest faculty-staff ratios in the system. And $11 million of one-time money. From non-appropriated funds, nearly $500,000 ongoing and $1 million one-time, for a total of $29 million that we've spent this year. So I summarize that because you may not have seen up here what you were hoping to see, the thing that you were pushing for, your department or division wanted, may not have been funded. I think we've done the very best job we can to make this $29 million stretch as far as we can, effectively as we can, relentlessly against what our mission is. And again, to echo what Vice President Olson said on the opening note, it's actually a pretty remarkable thing that what we've seen here is the distribution of $29 million. Just this week, you may have seen this headline. Will higher education hit $0 in New Mexico in 2018? Just recently, the governor in New Mexico vetoed 100% of higher education for funding in New Mexico. And at least right now, the legislature can't veto that. So unless something dramatic, cataclysmic happens, higher education's effectively been privatized in New Mexico. That's one example. It's probably the most extreme right now, but it's not that far off from other trends that, fortunately, Utah's resisting. We don't have everything that we wanted, but we got quite a bit, actually, and it's going to move programs forward. We're going to have new faculty and new staff and new resources and new facilities to be able to do what we need to do for our students. And of course, that's what we're all about here. And so we need to do that for these students. We need to do it with excellence. We're building this national reputation. We've got to continue with that. And we do that not for ourselves, but so that the students who walk into these halls have every opportunity that they want to have moving forward. Two quick stories here to end on. Nick Zemp is a biochemist on campus. A number of years ago, he lost the use of his legs and much of the use of his hands. He's become quite the student and scholar of lichens and their interaction with the environment around us. And despite his admitted physical limitations, he's not let that stop him, and the institution and his faculty and staff have rallied around him to let him flourish in a way that his mind can. And he has presented major papers and has a published scientific article. His faculty members tell me that he writes and researches at a master's level proficiency. And he does that, and he's the first one to give a moving, inspiring credit to the people of UVU, maybe people in this room, faculty members, advisors, the folks who help him do field research in a wheelchair. That's what we're talking about, an open admissions platform for national excellence. We bring everybody in, we take them where that we are, and we lift them up to be the very best that they can be. And my friend Maddie Hanks, presidential intern. Maddie came here years ago. She was raised most of her life by a single mother. Much of that time, though, was intermittently spent in a home of real troubling circumstances. In addition to whatever sort of physical things were going on there was economic desperation. She said growing up, most of her meals were held at school. They were on a welfare program. That was the only chance she got to have a hot meal. When she came to UVU, she had one unfortunate interaction where her dream of getting a PhD was met with a sort of a dismissive, well, I don't think you should aim so high. Well, Maddie was the wrong person to tell that to. She was raised by a mother who told her she could do anything. She could be anything. And then she found other people at UVU who gave her just the opposite message, which is that you can do this thing. You can succeed here, and we'll help you. I'm very proud to say Maddie is graduating this year, and she was accepted to 4 PhD programs and has decided to accept an invitation to get her doctorate at Auburn in clinical psychology. These are just 2 small, shining examples of the thousands and thousands of students that we deal with every day, you deal with every day. We have resources to do that. We're deploying them the best we can, and we've got to do it for their sake. Our work has never been more important. It'll never be more challenging in some ways, but also never more exciting. Continues to be an absolute thrill for me to be your colleague in doing so. Thank you for another fantastic year here at Utah Valley University.